They weren't just empires. They were worlds born from myth and fire. One raised by wisdom, Greece. The other forged in iron, Rome. When gods became men and men reached for immortality, their legions met in thunder. The ancient world would never be the same. This is the Immortals, where legends never die. Subscribe and take your place in the ranks of legends. In the lands bathed by the same Mediterranean sun, two civilizations began to shape the destiny of the ancient world. To the east rose Greece, a land divided, but united by a common spirit. Not a single empire, but hundreds of city-states, each proud, independent, and fiercely competitive. Athens, Corinth, Thebes, and Sparta, names that would resonate through history in Athens. Men debated the nature of justice and the meaning of freedom. This is where philosophy was born. Socrates questioned, Plato imagined, Aristotle defined. It was a world driven by ideas, where knowledge became the best weapon. But beyond the marble temples of Athens lay Sparta, a society built entirely for war. All Spartan children were trained from the age of 7 in the brutal agog, a system that erased weakness and glorified discipline. Their warriors lived without fear, bound by duty, forged for battle. Greece became a paradox, the cradle of democracy and art, but also the forging of the most disciplined warriors of the ancient world. Meanwhile, to the west, far beyond the Aegean Sea, another power was awakening: Rome, a humble settlement on the banks of the Tiber River. Born from the myth of the twin brothers Romulus and Remus, Roma carried in its blood a story of survival and ambition. Surrounded by enemies and shaped by constant fighting, the Romans learned that strength was their only path to existence. They built alliances, absorbed their rivals, and turned their defeats into lessons. The discipline of their legions, the organization of their armies, and the unity of their command made them unstoppable. While Greece sought perfection of the mind, Rome perfected the machinery of power. Greece gave the world philosophy, mathematics, theater, and democracy. Rome gave him roads, law, empire, and the iron will to rule. Two worlds, born of the same sun, one guided by wisdom and the other by order. Their fates would soon collide, and from that collision, the ancient world would never be the same again. In the rugged plains and rocky hills of the Peloponnese, warfare was not just a capability, it was a way of life. In Sparta, children as young as 7 enrolled in the Agoge, the state's military training program. For more than a decade, they endured grueling exercises, physical punishment, and constant tests of courage. The weakness was unacceptable. Strength, obedience, and loyalty were everything. Each Spartan man was trained to fight as part of a phalanx, a wall of shields and overlapping spears that moved as one, nearly invincible on the battlefield. Meanwhile, in Athens, the warrior spirit took a different form. While Spartan society revered discipline above all else, the Athenians fought for ideals, freedom, democracy, and the protection of their city-state. The hoplite, a heavily armored infantryman, carried a round shield called an aspis and a long spear, standing shoulder to shoulder with his fellow citizens. Victory was achieved not only with strength, but with strategy, unity, and courage under fire. Greek warriors were more than soldiers. They were the embodiment of their culture. The Persian Wars put this spirit to the test. At Thermopylae, King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans held pace against an army of hundreds of thousands, their courage inspiring all of Greece. Later, generals such as Themistocles in Salamis would prove that clever tactics could outperform numbers. Centuries later, Alexander the Great would bring this warrior spirit to the world. Trained by Aristotle and hardened in the Macedonian phalanxes, Alexander conquered lands from Greece to India. His soldiers followed him through deserts and mountains, driven by loyalty, discipline, and a belief in a shared destiny. From the narrow passes of the Peloponnese to the vast plains of Asia, Greek warriors defined an era. They were disciplined, fearless, and relentless. Soldiers shaped not only by their weapons, but by the ideas and values of the world they fought to protect. In Greece, war was not chaos. It was art, philosophy, and survival all at once. Meanwhile, in the hills of the Lazio region, Rome was rising, not through lone heroes, but through disciplined armies acting as one. The Roman legion was the backbone of this power. Unlike the Greek phalanx, where cohesion was vital but tactics were often rigid, the legion was flexible, organized, and deadly. Each legionary carried the gladius, a short sword for hand-to-hand combat, and a scutum, a huge rectangular shield, while dominating the pilum, a javelin designed to break through enemy lines before engagement. Training began in peacetime, with long marches with heavy backpacks, mock battles, and rigorous exercises that turned each soldier into a weapon in his or her own right. Discipline was absolute. Desertion meant death. Hesitation meant disaster. However, the legionary was more than just a soldier. He was a professional, trained to adapt, obey, and fight as part of a machine built to conquer. While Greek warriors fought for the honor, reputation, or ideals of the city-state, the Romans fought for duty, loyalty, and the survival of their state. The legion was a tool of Rome's expansion. A unit could build fortifications during the day, march tens of miles at night, and annihilate enemies in combat with deadly efficiency. Battles such as Zama and the Siege of Alesia would later demonstrate the genius of the Roman organization. Commanders such as Scipio Africanus and Julius Caesar manipulated legions as instruments, combining strategy, engineering, and brute force. Rome was not based on individual heroism. It was based on the legion, a perfect combination of manpower, tactics, and training. Every soldier, every formation, every maneuver served the same goal: the survival and supremacy of Rome. Its engineers built roads and bridges before campaigns, siege engines crushed cities, and relentless discipline ensured that the empire expanded beyond any rival. Where Greek warriors sought glory, the Romans built empires, and their legions would march across the Mediterranean to secure it. In the ancient world, war was never fought by men alone. Gods and myths shaped strategy, morality, and the very idea of victory. In Greece, soldiers invoked Zeus, the king of the gods, invoking his thunder to strike fear into enemies. Ares, god of war, embodied the chaos of the battlefield, while Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy, guided generals and citizens alike. Every victory or defeat was seen as a reflection of divine favor. Athens attributed its naval triumph at Salamis to Athena herself. Temples and altars were built near the battlefields, where priests read omens and offered sacrifices to ensure victory to the west. Rome adapted and transformed these beliefs. Jupiter, their king of gods, reflected Zeus in power and authority. Mars, god of war, became the basis of Roman military ideology. The same month of March was named after him. Minerva, like Athena, represented the strategy, the craft, and the guidance of the generals. The Romans attributed the favor of their gods in all conquests, from the subjugation of the Etruscans to campaigns throughout the Italian peninsula. Priests, augurs, and soothsayers were embedded in the legions, interpreting the omens before each major engagement. Despite differences in language and culture, the two pantheons reflected the ambitions of their peoples. The Greek gods demanded excellence and glory. The Roman gods demanded duty and obedience. On the battlefield, summons, sacrifices, and omens were more than superstitions. They influenced morale, tactics, and even the timing of attacks. When Greek and Roman forces finally clashed, it wasn't just men testing steel against steel. It was two divine visions of power colliding. Thunder, lightning, and rituals marked the war, and soldiers believed that the gods themselves walked among them. The battlefield became a place where faith, fear, and discipline were intertwined, a stage where human ambition, military skill, and divine expectation met, shaping the history of the Mediterranean for centuries to come. On the battlefield, victory was determined by more than courage. It was mastery of formation, tactics, and discipline. The Greek phalanx was a living wall of bronze shields and long spears. The hoplites stood shoulder to shoulder, their shields overlapping, moving as a unit. Its strength lay in cohesion. Even the bravest soldier could do little alone. The phalanx demanded unity, confidence, and relentless training, and when executed perfectly, it could hold much larger forces. At Marathon and Thermopylae, phalanx formations repelled overwhelming numbers, proving that organization and endurance can outweigh size. The Roman legion operated differently. Highly disciplined yet flexible, he could adapt to the terrain and the enemy. The legions were divided into centuries and cohorts, allowing commanders to maneuver units independently. Soldiers trained to fight in multiple formations, to use pylons to break enemy shields, and then get close to the gladi in close combat. This combination of preparation, discipline, and innovation allowed Rome to conquer mountains, rivers, and deserts alike. Greek courage met Roman discipline in countless encounters, where a hoplite fought for the personal honor and glory of his city-state. A legionnaire fought as part of a machine designed to dominate and survive. These strategies did not evolve overnight. Centuries of conflict, from the Peloponnesian Wars to the skirmishes in southern Italy, refined the art of war generals such as Pericles, Epaminondas, and later Scipio Africanus, demonstrated that brilliance on the battlefield required both courage and calculation. When these two military traditions collided, the result was transformative. The phalanx could resist, but the legion could adapt. The hoplites inspired astonishment, but the legion won. Their encounters reshaped the Mediterranean, defining warfare and influencing armies for centuries to come. Some men were more than warriors. They became the embodiment of their civilization's ambition. Leonidas, the Lion of Sparta, chose death over surrender at Thermopylae, holding pace with only 300 men against a Persian army that reportedly numbered in the hundreds of thousands. His position was not only courage, it was a declaration of duty, discipline, and the Spartan ideal that the polis was greater than the individual. Alexander the Great, barely 30 years old, conquered Persia, Egypt, and lands that extended to the Indus River. Trained by Aristotle and hardened in the phalanx, he combined military genius with implacable ambition. His ability to inspire loyalty, adapt strategies, and employ innovative siege techniques made him unstoppable and ensured that his name would resonate for millennia. Julius Caesar transformed Rome from a republic into the foundation of an empire. Their campaigns in Gaul, feats of engineering such as bridges and fortifications, and mastery of battlefield psychology turned ordinary legions into instruments of expansion. Crossing the Rubicon was more than rebellion. It was a calculated gamble that reshaped Roman politics and military structure forever. Scipio Africanus, Rome's best strategist against Hannibal, achieved what many thought impossible at Zama. Using clever maneuvers, disciplined legions, and psychological acumen, he defeated one of history's greatest tacticians and cemented Rome's dominance over the Mediterranean. Through brilliance on the battlefield, bold decisions, and the ability to inspire men, these leaders turned ordinary soldiers into legends. Their victories, sacrifices, and innovations would define not only their civilizations, but the way war was fought for generations to come. When Rome marched into Greece, the ancient world watched with great expectation. The once proud Greek city-states were divided, weakened by decades of internal strife. The Peloponnesian Wars, the rise of Macedonia under Philip II, and constant rivalries had left Athens, Sparta, and their neighbors vulnerable. The glory of the classical era, philosophy, art, and military prowess, was fading. In Corinth, a strategic and wealthy city-state, Rome demonstrated the cruelty of its expansion. After the city resisted Roman authority, the legions besieged it, and the walls fell. Temples, markets, and public buildings were destroyed. The fall of Corinth in 146 BC was a strong signal. Greece's political independence was over. The Romans executed the male population, enslaved women and children, and looted treasures, a warning to other Greek cities. However, Rome was not merely destructive. Conquered cities were reorganized. Local elites were co-opted. taxes were imposed, and military garrisons were established. Greece became a province, but its culture, art, and knowledge endured, eventually permeating Roman society. Greek philosophers gave private lessons to Roman children. Greek architects influenced Roman buildings. Greek religion merged with the Roman gods. Even in defeat, Greek ideas shaped Roman education, law, and politics. The clash was more than armies meeting on the battlefield. It was a confrontation between two worldviews, Greek intellect, philosophy, and art, versus Roman imperial organization, discipline, and ambition. The eagle had soared over Greece, and a new order was rising from the ruins of the old. This was a turning point in history, the end of independent Hellenic power, and the beginning of a Roman world shaped by Greek heritage, a fusion of steel, strategy, and civilization that would resonate for centuries. Rome had conquered Greece, but it was Greece that conquered the soul of Rome. The Greek gods, art, philosophy, and science did not disappear under Roman rule. They were adopted, adapted, and woven into the fabric of the empire. Roman leaders such as Julius Caesar and Augustus surrounded themselves with Greek tutors, philosophers, and architects. Greek intellectuals educated Roman elites, ensuring that the lessons of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle would endure in Roman government and thought. Greek libraries, sculptures, and manuscripts were transported to Rome, preserving centuries of artistic knowledge and achievement. Greek architecture reshaped Roman cities. Temples, theaters, and public forums reflected classical ideals. Roman engineers adopted Greek methods for aqueducts, roads, bridges, and monumental buildings. Even religion was transformed. Zeus became Jupiter, Athena became Minerva, mixing two pantheons into a shared Roman-Greek tradition. Greek science, medicine, and mathematics traveled throughout the empire. Doctors trained in the Hippocratic tradition improved public health. Mathematicians such as Euclid influenced military engineering and logistics. Greek rhetoric became a cornerstone of Roman education, preparing leaders to rule vast territories with logic, persuasion, and authority. While Rome ruled politically and militarily, it was Greek culture that ruled intellectually, conquered but indestructible. Greek art, theater, and philosophy became the center of Roman identity. The victor had taken the land, but the vanquished had given Rome a legacy of brilliance. The conquered became the cultural foundation of an empire. Greece had lost its independence, but its ideas, its knowledge, and its spirit shaped the heart of Rome, and through Rome, the basis of Western civilization itself. From the Greeks, we inherited thought, beauty, and the pursuit of freedom. Greek philosophy laid the foundations of logic, ethics, and government. Socrates challenged assumptions, Plato imagined ideal societies, and Aristotle cataloged the knowledge that would guide education for millennia. Greek art and architecture, the columns of the Parthenon, the sculptures of gods and heroes, set standards of balance, proportion, and human form that still influence design today. Democracy, first practiced in Athens, introduced the idea that citizens could participate in government, a concept that resonates in modern political systems. From the Romans, we inherited law, engineering, and the power of order. Roman law codified justice, rights, and obligations. Principles such as innocent until proven guilty and property law underpin modern legal systems. Roman engineers built roads, aqueducts, and bridges that connected an empire and inspired modern infrastructure. The Roman army demonstrated the importance of organization, discipline, and logistics in achieving and maintaining power over vast territories. Together, Greeks and Romans forged the foundations of the modern world. Their ideas, achievements, and innovations continue to shape our cities, our languages, and our thinking. The influence of Hellenistic science, Roman government, Greek philosophy, and Roman engineering is embedded in every corner of Western civilization. The titans of the ancient Mediterranean, thinkers, warriors, and builders, may have lived thousands of years ago, but their legacies live on today. When we walk through cities, read laws, debate ideas, or admire art, we are following the paths first traced by these civilizations. Greece and Rome did more than shape history. They created the model for the world we inhabit. Who was stronger? The Greeks, masters of strategy, or the Romans, rulers of the world? Perhaps the real answer is that without Greece, Rome would never have existed, and without Rome, Greece's legacy would never have survived. If you enjoyed this journey through history, be sure to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to watch our Top 10 Mythological Warriors in History video, now available on the channel.